I think then, alongside that type of content, I'd love to hear, was there any kind of particular content you found works best with your own advocates? Now, maybe even with that financial services spin as well, was there anything really relevant for an industry you thought, "Oh, this could be a little bit different just because this sector as well?" So I'd love to hear from that content sounds what really worked for you and the team there.
Yes, but different strengths of content depend on which kind of team of advocates is most likely to engage in that content, really. So I mentioned sales team as a kind of like first point of call. So a lot of the content published through there is product related content and kind of key messages for kind of launches that might have happened within the brands. That will generally resonate really well with them because they're obviously getting the right kind of exposure out there. They're all about the relationships that they've got with brokers and clients and communicating things with them. Obviously, they'll have loads of meetings and stuff, but being able to reflect the things that they talk to them about in their face-to-face meetings or via phone calls and stuff, having that reflected on social and having that as another touch point for people to find out more about the various launches that we've done, all the exciting things that have happened within that particular brand or an event or an award or that kind of thing. That always resonates well with that kind of group of advocates.
Mm.
And then kind of opposite side of things, we've mentioned the HR and talent teams. So a big thing what we do at OSB as well is focus on people, allow the content of people to kind of shine through and kind of showcase and celebrate our people as much as possible. So the posts that we create, which talk about fundraising opportunities or community volunteering that we've done or kind of new partnerships we might have launched with local charities or our charity partners or kind of, or even key areas of the business that we're looking to develop, we'll find that the HR talent and the kind of ESG kind of teams really engage in that as well. So it's playing to what we know they love and kind of just like creating the content that kind of matches up to that. And then you kind of got like an easy win ready, but they'll want to be talking about that and want to share.
100%. Love that. And, you mentioned social, like in terms of relationship building, in terms of people, right there with you, because obviously that's sort of core of what we talk about day in, day out within the Hootsuite world. So love that. Now, obviously, with any employee advocacy program that is launched, people sort of start off strong. Then we have those real champions that keep going. They're passionate about putting out the content. We've heard here, there's some really good examples that are really having an effect. Sometimes I know with other sort of companies I've spoken with in the past, there's sometimes a need to keep employees motivated and excited to participate. How did you encounter that challenge? Are you seeing that? Are you finding a way to keep people motivated and keep them coming back and sharing that content? Or is it really just an active OSB group? You know what? We love the company. We're just going to share it.
I mean, I suppose there's peaks and troughs in general, really. But I'd say overall, we do have quite a nicely engaged, committed kind of group of advocates, really, which is nice. And I said different kind of pieces of content will relate to subgroups within that. So there's very few pieces of content we will push out there that's probably relevant or relatable for all of them to want to share at one go, really. I suppose the biggest example I could have had from that was a big rebrand that we did for one of our lending brands last year. It was very relevant to obviously like the sales team, a load of people within that kind of lending space as well. But it was a big milestone and kind of step change for the business as a whole. So everyone that worked here was very proud of it. And that piece of content and the content that was associated to that was like our best performing and most shared, most engaged with, etc. All the kind of lovely tick boxes and lovely things to report back on. But in terms of keeping them engaged over time, it's just the communication, I think, is always really, really key for me. And even though these are obviously groups of people within the business, a lot of them I do have like one-on-one relationships with as well. And we've like kind of discussed and worked on their own bits of content that they might want to start creating or start publishing or things they want to talk about that might sit just outside of what goes on the advocacy platform. And that obviously builds that kind of trust and that relationship with you to know that, okay, the things that are available through Amplify, etc. I'm gonna use that as well as the kind of ideas I'm starting to have myself and other things I know I want to be talking about too. And then I kind of suppose that element of gamification you could have as well. I think that's one thing that maybe I haven't drove forward as much as what I'd want to. I suppose really making stuff like more of everyone loves a bit of competition, don't they? Really, I suppose. And I think our sales team in particular would be really receptive to that, to making it some kind of contest. I mean, we do reports and we have leaderboards and that kind of thing, but making it more of a real game and real kind of thing in between the mini teams within the whole kind of group of advocates would be a great way of keeping them more engaged. So we kind of plan that a little bit, but could do that. And maybe if people are thinking of doing a program themselves, really try and think about how could I gamify this or kind of make it a bit more fun or competitive for them to kind of say, okay, I want to be the top person or the most engaged here because there's something in it for me as well and bragging rights within their teams, I suppose.
Never a bad thing to have bragging rights, right? So yeah, definitely. I love the value you mentioned as well. You're going back to the groups, the community as a whole internally, and say, try to source content as well there. Quick side note on that one, but is there any sort of piece that springs to mind of, oh, this is such a great piece to source from these teams that we, found had a really good effect? Anything that springs to mind just on that?
I suppose a recent one really. I mean, even last week, marathon, there were several people that completed the London Marathon that work
Mm.
for OSB. And again, that kind of thing, we can get an insight to that from seeing stuff that goes out on social. And we always say, like the social team, we're like the window to the business, but we can't be looking in all the windows all at the same time, can we? So we need people to be able to give us that kind of information as well. And particularly from our advocacy side of things, when I'm on board new teams or new people on there, big thing what we try and push to them is, look, it's not just us pushing out content for you to share. It's a two-way thing. So please feel free to suggest things to us. So you might have information on things that you think, actually, that'd be really useful for this team to want to talk about, or me and my wider team to share quite easily. That can then become a piece of curated content then. So yeah, the marathon was a great example. There's a lady that works in the communities team or ESG team that kind of knew all the different people, collated the images, sent them over to us, and then it became a piece of brand channel content and amplified content as well, you see.
Superb. That's superb. Any PBs as they brand the marathon out there, or?
Yeah, I think there was a guy that had 4 hours and 1 minute, and it's the second time he's done it. It's very similar, but we had a bit of a joke last week and saying, "You've got to do it again because you haven't got that sub 4." So that was the kind of conversation. Yeah, but I mean, anyone does anything like that, if you just complete it, that's the achievement in itself, isn't it? No more times, it's the finish lines, isn't it?
Definitely on that. There's been a strong theme of conversation so far that obviously it's very sort of results driven. I can hear from that. So showcasing results, helping sort of set up the program, getting others involved because of the results you've curated there. What I'd love to understand a little bit more about, the results in general, like what you've seen from the program so far, either quantitative or qualitative. You mentioned some things like awareness, for example, I think, but could you dive a bit deeper into that area and sort of discuss again what you've seen in terms of and how you define success with this program?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, so I suppose obviously Amplified being the main program we kind of do it, we took it quite literally. The point of it is to amplify the messages and what we were talking about at OSB Group on a wider scale. So I know obviously your reach and impressions can be a bit of a vanity metric at times, but I do think it's still a great kind of parameter just to see how far and wide your content is spreading, and the knock-on effect of that, particularly with organic social, doing that over a consistent period of time. You really start to see results from it, be that from the people and their own kind of results in terms of their audiences growing, or people that engage with our branded content, or sales teams that might have developed the relationships they have with brokers even further, or get more phone calls, etc. And so that's been great to see, and that kind of just the overall feel and response that we get from people thanking us, people being more engaged and more active on their own social media. They're the kind of results you can't fully quantify to say we've got 200 people that regularly share stuff. We can just see from how the mood has changed and how people engage with what we do on a brand channel, and then what we do through our advocate program as well. It's really great to see. I suppose it's worth kind of noting we have an advocacy kind of hashtag that was launched when we did kind of do a pro. So we are OSB. Again,
Mm,
you not in a sense of to make something go viral or to make people attach certain bits of content that don't work at OSB. It's very much like an internal thing. So anyone that's sharing their own bits of content that are related to OSB Group, that kind of hashtag is used as that kind of holistic advocacy thing to relate back to showcase life at the group even more, and to see the uptake we've had on that and how people have adopted that. So you've got obviously the talent teams, HR teams, community teams, but even people like certain senior managers when they do engage on things online or post their own stuff using that hashtag as well. The kind of the uptake we've had on that has been really positive. And then kind of results wise, I mentioned how we started off the platform quite niche, then focusing on sales team, and then expanded it out. Like I said, a turning point early last year really kind of skyrocketed some of our results really. So 2023, I think our impressions or our reach from amplified content was just under 500,000, I think, which is still impressive considering it was the first kind of time we'd really rolled this out. And obviously
mm.
we're quite a large banking group, but we're not like a mega hundreds of thousands of followers on our brand channels and that kind of thing, viral successes. We are quite specialist. We're a specialist lender.
Aye.
And then last year, expanding the program out, incorporating new teams, particularly HR teams, talent teams, communities. The 2024 number was 1.425 million reach impressions that we had from the curated content. So, and that's just a monthly, the content from shared from our people outperforms our brand channel content like several fold. So it's having a greater impact. And we always try and stress to colleagues as well when they come with us with content requests. It was like, okay, yeah, this would be great for a piece on this channel, mate, but have you thought we could share this through our people as well? Because it will reach more people from that. It will get great engagement within the team you're hoping for it to go to. And obviously it helps us hopefully end of year see our kind of results continue to grow as the advocacy platform and program grows.
100%. It just, replicates that sort of, that focus saying, look, this is the power of people and their networks ultimately. They just, really embodied there within the strategy. So congrats, man. And great results too, as well, within that. Um, I think with all that success, though, often we do say, look, sometimes things could have gone better. There's always that looking back period too. So if you could go back and change, make, one thing different from the entire program, what you do or what's been done, what would that be though?
I suppose I've kind of half touched on it really, but one thing I'd wanted to develop even more of is that kind of the relationship between the advocates themselves and that kind of maybe gamification element to keep the engagement or the monthly kind of uptake of sharing content on there. I do think, like I said, everyone loves a bit of healthy competition, and I think having that thing in place, our strategy and how we developed it was really, really strong.
Mm,
Getting people on board really strong as well, getting the sign-up rate and then to actually transfer to become active advocates is overall really strong too. Like I said, the way of maintaining that to maybe avoid some of the peaks and troughs that we've naturally seen could be to keep that kind of element of competition or gamification up there as well. So that obviously would come with time from a relationship that we've developed with the different people we've brought on the platform.
mm.
Yes, yeah, that'd be one thing I do think about most, I suppose, really. And if I was to go back, it'd be trying to introduce something like that from the outset to encourage that kind of healthy competition between the teams and the people to make sure we're engaged over a sustained period of time.
Makes sense. And then would that sort of be the same advice that you would give to any other company looking at this sort of program for advocacy, particularly in the FinServ space, saying, hey, do concentrate on the competition, or is there anything else that you would think, actually, this would also be good advice for anyone wanting to start up their own advocacy program there?
I suppose the biggest kind of one really is kind of just know your why. It's taking that time beforehand to think about why would launching something like this benefit us in the way? So not in terms of going through all the individual KPIs that you want to get, just thinking that kind of, that wider thing of like, why would we actually want to do it? Is it to kind of empower our people to be able to be more active themselves? Is it to use their networks to be able to showcase what we do from there? Is it to build that kind of sense of community within our own teams, which then filters through onto the online space? So yeah, really stopping and thinking about the why you'd want to be doing this and why it should be developed. As I said, when I joined, that kind of groundwork had already taken place in a way because we'd had the sign off and the kind of green light to develop this, and they'd already thought about why we wanted to be doing it. It was then obviously my job to bring it to life fully.
100%. Love that. And again, the why it's so important. But again, just to round off, I think, personal perspective, I just love to hear your experience now of social media and how it's looked at within the organization. Has the program changed how people look at, social media now in the OSB group as a whole?
I'd like to think so. I would like to think so. It's as I said again, how people have taken to whether in terms of how when I introduce it to them, how quickly they be able to sign up and become active advocates has been really positive due to
Mm,
the feedback that you get on pieces of content that's reflective of whether it's a large scale product launch that relates to the lending side of the business. So it's for sales teams, and then you'll have a great bit of feedback from the person that heads up the sales teams to say really strong effort on this one, or it was great to see the content associated to this, knowing that we've played a big part in that is really, really nice as well. And as I said, the feeling, just the feeling and how people are engaged with what we do and talking about things and doing their own thing on social as well, I think is really great. As I said, you want to be able to mix in. We don't just want people just sharing the stuff that we've curated for them. We want them to be able to think about what they do on their own social presence as well, and how we can mix in these kind of messages as well, so they can develop their own presence a lot more too. And so yeah, it's been really great to see. And then from I suppose a big win from the business side of things. Last year, we were fortunate enough to win an award for our social media. So it was the
congrats.
thank you, yeah, the Mortgage Industry Marketing Award. So the memers, people on the call from UK might be familiar with some of them. So yeah, best use of social media was the award that we managed to get, but that was based on how we use people within social. So whether that's people as the face of the content, get them involved in content, or whether it's through our advocates and using people to be able to display all that we do at OSB Group and our brands. So yeah, that was obviously a massive win and proud moment last year as well.
Fantastic. I was going to ask you, is that sounds like one of your proudest moments then, like from all the programs? Or anything else that stands out alongside that? Or
So yes, as I said, mentioned last year that we had a rebrand of one of our lending brands, Precise, and just seeing how that came to life on social from obviously all the brand channels, but then all the things that our colleagues and our advocates were talking about and sharing, and that kind of outperformed anything else last year in that sense as well. And it also proved that if there was something major happening, that kind of a much larger group will really jump on it and really get engaged with it as well and look to do it on their own way. So 'cause I suppose another piece of advice would be, obviously, you've got all the different pieces of content that's on there, but when there is a big bang kind of thing, really try and make a splash of it. So really hammer home in terms of like how you communicate with people. So it'll go on amplified channels. You maybe email them to keep them in touch with it. There might be meetings that have gone on about this because it's such a big deal. All the different avenues and communication tools you can, just to let people know this is like a really important thing. When the day does come, we can start talking about it, are already kind of hyped up and engaged to share to their networks and get speaking about it on like a wider scale online.